Introspection Academy, and if you know anything about me, you know I've obsessed about Greg Howe for the past decade. I really think Greg Howe is a Da Vinci, Picasso and Van Gogh all in one of fusion guitar and modern fusion guitar in general. I went to MFA Guitar Camp July last year with Tom Quayle, Jack Gardner, Josh Meter and Greg Howe was also there. There was this beautiful point at the MFA Guitar Camp where Josh, Jack and Tom were saying, Greg, we have so much to thank Greg Howe for. And he was sitting there, what a beautiful moment. I was like, yes, of course you do. He's that kind of genius that after 10 years transcribing, I still find every day new things to work on, new clever things he's doing. It's just insane, guys. So for the lesson for today, guys, we're returning to one of his trademark things, which is stepping. Stepping, also a part of his style. And I have a confession to make. I really was not that great in tapping. I had to really work on it, and so this lesson for this week, guys, will reveal 5 tips that I found out that I need to personally work on, be mindful about when executing kind of these tapping ideas of Greg. But in general, guys, these are good tapping tips also. And a bit of a warning, it's a little bit of an older lesson starting from the starting days of Introspection Academy. Be kind, it's a bit less video quality than lately you're expecting from me. The other warning is, guys, I'm cutting it off at about 80%. The rest you can watch easily on Patreon as a free member. You can go there, register as a free member, you can go and watch the whole lesson. So here it's about 80% on YouTube for this week. And whew, it's not about arpeggios this week, guys, so you can chill. No arpeggios this week, but you know arpeggios are the doorway to fusion guitars. Get my arpeggio guide, it's free, description below, so you can work on all these wonderful shapes to get you that fusion sound. Now let's get into the lesson. Guys, pretty challenging line, I would say, so and a cool line now. So all right, let's see, guys, what is this? I'm gonna play it slow for you guys at the moment, and then let's see. It's in E minor, it's an E Dorian backing track, kind of this vibe. Exactly in that rest that I pull off, like it's very typical to pull off like a kind of a exciting line, right? The track asks for it, right? Anyway. So that is the line, and then I'm gonna do it slow for you guys. Guys, of this lesson here is on this specific part. So I'll give you the tab in a moment, the complete line. Well, here it is, right? But I'm gonna focus for you guys to take a screenshot, right? So and focus on you guys with this on this fragment here because it's so trademark Greg Howe style. Yeah, that's the part I want to focus you guys on. Now this is called 3-note per string tapping. Now first of all, let's talk a little bit about that thing, right? What is it exactly? Well, there's 4 things that are in play to pull that off in a good way. First of all, let's look at this friend here, right? This is a string dampener, right? It's a commercial one. Sometimes I used to see people, or even Greg in his a bit earlier days, he would like have just a hairband. So if you got a female partner in the house or something, you can ask for a hairband and you can just pull that over your strings, and it's just dampening the strings, guys. You see? Meaning the guitar gets more quiet, and all like open string sounds will be very much pushed to the background, and it really helps to pull off these lines. Is it necessary? No. There's lots of guys on the internet that do perfectly clean 3-note per string tapping stuff. Don't need that. Greg is using it, so I'm using it. This is Greg Howe's tap teaching, right? So he's using it, and it helps me, right? I must really say, this helps me. Some people call it cheating on internet. I don't know, it's just a little bit of a help. So guys, I'm using it without any excuses, right? So that's the first concept here, guys, is, and you can see, you can really slide it where you want. So I would typically, when I know in a certain song or whatever I'm going for a 3 note per string tapping, I will even get it a little bit closer here. When it's in my way, I can quickly move it back and so on. So, right? First concept, use a string dampener here, guys. Secondly, it's 3 note per string tapping. That's what the word says. Normally, I'm not a big fan of 3 note per string fingerings, but for this thing, it's essential, right? So this is what we're doing here. This may be an exercise. Maybe you want to start with that one. Right? So maybe you want to start just with that exercise to get that technique going. Now there's a few things again going on here. First of all, yes, it's 3 note per string, so this is an E Dorian kind of vibe, I told you so. Right, this is E Dorian, and we're focusing on this fragment here. This is not a coincidence that Greg is focusing exactly on that fragment. This is a second concept, guys. Greg is always trying, when he does 3 note per string tapping, he's trying to keep the fingerings the same as here. Like the distance between the notes the same. This is one whole tone behind, between each note. When he would continue that line, which he of course sometimes does, he will not do this. Although that is of course E Dorian, but that's gonna change the configuration of notes. You see, guys, I'm gonna have a half tone here. What he would do is this. He would jump to the 15th fret just to keep that, again, that configuration going, right? That whole tone between each note. But that thing, he keeps that going because of the fingerings, right? So that's the second thing you need to have in mind if you want to do that typical Greg Howe tapping stuff. It's keeping the same fingerings. Another solution to work with this is to do a string skip, and that's what I'm doing in this line. So right, that keeps me also in the same position, which rules out a bit that that's a challenge. Even for me, it's a challenge to make that position shift, the whole tone position shift. Now I can just go vertically. You see, I can just go vertically, so that helps too. So that's also kind of a bonus concept that goes with keep the fingerings the same and keep it easy, guys. So that's the second concept. Now look, the third concept, guys, is look at what the right hand is doing. So what I call a floating hand. So make sure when you do this stepping thing that your right hand is floating and it's not anchored to the bridge. Let me show you from another angle. So in the beginning, guys, right, the first months, even years, because I didn't focus too much on the technique the first years I was working on Greg Howe, I would anchor, I would rest my palm on the guitar, and it certainly feels more comfortable in the beginning than a floating hand, at least for me. But then you need to start doing these position shifts and so on, and then I watch very carefully what Greg is doing, and he has a floating hand, right? So he's not resting the palm at all. See? So that's also a really important concept for you guys to know. It feels strange, like any trademark Greg Howe technique that I've learned felt strange for a few days, then it's over. Same with hybrid picking, same with hammer-ons from nowhere, same with these floating hand 3 note per string tapping things. Give it a few days, guys. You'll get over it, and it's gonna feel natural, and it's gonna really support you pulling those lines off. Alright, guys, so that's the floating hands concept. Really important concept to mind if you're about to launch into one of these ideas. And then lastly, guys, it's a very classic tapping lesson that is conveyed in other courses as well, but certainly here, where you're doing these kind of lines, it's the first note that needs the most attention, right? Because that is the real hammer-on from nowhere, right? finger. Make sure it's powerful enough, right, to get good articulation of the note. Then the other way around, of course, is the tapping finger, right? That is the first note. But most of the time, for most players, that's not a problem. We're bam, bam, we're really hitting it hard. But the attention point is, and the fourth concept I want to convey, guys, is make sure that first note with the index finger, that hammer on from nowhere, is powerful enough, is strong enough. Right, guys? Those are the 4 concepts I'm going to give you as an extra bonus. Big shout out to these people supporting me and my work on Patreon. Also, guys, if you love this lesson, I'm gonna just refer you to my latest YouTube video, which is 3 steps to fusion guitar. 5 lovely shapes, guys, to get you that fusion sound incredibly quickly. Go and watch that. Thank you for watching.